Aloha. I chose to do my presentation on the African artist Baaba Maala, and he's from Senegal, Africa. And the reason I chose him is because I really enjoy listening to African music. Well, I like their culture, so that's why I chose this, and I'm excited to learn more about him. And who he is, he's a Senegalese singer. He's from Africa, and and a guitarist. And he was born on November 12th, 1953. He was born in Podon, Senegal, on the Senegal River, which is in the northern part of Africa. And everyone, when he was younger, everyone assumed that he would be like his father. His father is a fisherman, and everyone in his family was like, oh, he'll be like his father and become a fisherman. But he had a passion for music, so his heart led him to music, and the passion he had mixed with his great talent allowed him to become one of Africa's popular musicians. And he's popular. A lot of people in Africa know who he is, as well as other countries outside of Africa. And when he was young, he learned how to play different instruments, mostly from his mom and one of his lifelong friends, Mansar Sek. And these two people had a big impact in his life because they're the ones who taught him music. They taught him the importance of music in everything he does. He studied music at university in Dakar, which is it's a university in Paris. Dakar is in Africa, then there's a BU Arts in Paris. And he was on a scholarship in these two countries, and that's where he learned how to play music. And when he was in Dakar, Africa, he was in a 70-piece orchestra, which is called the Aslai Fauta. And in this orchestra, he was one of the important orchestra people in there. And while he was in this group, he teamed up with one of his really good friend, Mansar Sek, and they made a duo, creating the group Aslai Fauta. And this group was what made them important. And this picture right here is a picture of the school he went to in Paris, the BU Arts, and this is where he had a scholarship to, and that's where he learned how to play most of his music. And going back to the duo him and his really good friend made together, they're a dynamic duo, and they went to play in Paris, where they recorded an album called Dijam Li'i, and in 1984. So they made this duo where they combined their music talents together as one. And this is just a picture of them two. You can see that Baaba Maala is on the left, and on the right is Mansar Sek, his really good friend. And once after he recorded this album in Paris, he returned back to his hometown, which is in Africa, Senegal, and his work never stopped. He was always doing the things he loved, which was music and play different instruments. And another group that this amazing African artist did was he came up with the Ande Leno, and literally it translates to the voice of the race. And this group he formed when he was in Paris, and from a guy named Jason Ankeny. He said that this group is a highly distinctive sound, fusing traditional African music with elements of pop and reggae. So this group that they created, it was a popular group that brought all the pop and reggae. It made everything important. It kind of vitalized the music and it voiced it. So that's why it's called the voice of the race. And this right here is just a picture of, well, it's just not a picture, but it's a timeline of the important years, the years that made him a great artist. And in 1988, he issued the LP Wengo, and this is the first in a series of highly successful albums. So as one of his best albums was this LP Wengo. And going on to 1998, which was called The Nomad Soul, and this is one of the first recordings on Chris Blackwell's new album, and his new album is called Palm Pictures, and the song Nomad Soul was recorded on this, and it was a big deal back in Africa. And also in 2001, he recorded a song called Missing You. It's kind of recent. In African, it translates to Me Yui. and it's important because it brought him back to his culture. I was reading this article and it said that it kind of brought him back to his roots. It had the traditional Senegalese sounds, and it made him realize like who he was. It brought him back to when he was a child again. And in July 2003, Baaba Maala, he was called to be a youth ambassador. He was appointed as a youth emissary for the United States Development Program, which is also called the UNDP. And this program is the program for youth that he brought together as one. And what he did was he devoted a significant amount of time and energy to raising young people's awareness of AIDS and HIV. So he was a youth ambassador. He was a voice for the people who had AIDS and HIV. He was their voice to kind of express what they're feeling, and he stood up for them. And the following year, in 2004, June of 2004, Baaba Maala, he returned to his hometown in Africa, and he continued his legacy of making music. His work never stopped, and there he performed a special welcome concert at the UNDP's Leadership Summit in Dakar. And one of his best albums was known as The Notable Comeback, which is called the International Rich Afrique. And this album was one of his best albums, and it was recorded in the beginning of 2008. And when he was recording this, he recorded it in Paris. He was on tour while he was like expressing and writing all this music. And during this 2-year period of recording, he came out with 10 songs, 10 hard-hitting songs is what the labels described it. And in this album, he announced his objective and the thing he was trying to express to his audience, and to get like his theme of the whole album was to dismiss the cliched view of Africa as a continent riddled by suffering and riven by conflict. And this album is what it kind of brought out all his inner feelings. Like he tried to take out the stereotypes of what everyone thinks of Africa. Everyone think it's, like suffering and stuff, which it is, but what he was trying to portray was that it's not all like that, and that there are good people that are coming from Africa, and that was his theme of this album. And lastly, is his newest album, which is out now, which is called Television. And from the World View, they describe it as being packed with messages aimed at Africa and new musical styles aimed at the Western market. And the Guardian News said, they quoted that, and they said that this album is it's a brave, unexpected set that veers between the brilliant and the occasionally dreadful. And what this album what it's doing is, it's bringing out his talent, like his last talent. He's still going strong, even though he was born in 1953. He's still going strong now, coming out with the album. And what this album did was that it kind of expresses everything in one. He has this television album that brings out everything he is, and what the news people are calling it, the World Review, they're just calling it a brave and unexpected set. And so it's brave of Baaba Maala to come up with an album that's knowing some people might not like it, but he still brought it out for everyone. And this is my presentation between Baaba Maala, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And it just basically, the reason I chose Baaba Maala was that so I can learn more about the African culture and about what they do. And Baaba Maala, he's really taught me a lot. I really enjoy learning about him and about his culture and about the achievements he's done. Every year of his life, he kept going, like, even though Africa might be poverty, he never stopped his music. And even though when he was younger, people said he wouldn't be a musician because his dad was a fisherman and his mother wanted him to be a lawyer, but he had this passion for music and talent, and he was always surrounded by musicians and people who brought music to him. So this is what made him come as a huge artist. He had determination to record and to make songs, and he had a voice. He had a voice to really express, like, to stand up for others and to express what he's really feeling. And that's why I chose him. I learned a lot, and I learned to be a strong voice with this great African artist, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Mahalo.